I'm Debbie Godfrey. Welcome to the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast.
Today's pep talk, I'm going to go over the topic of what Dreikur calls excess affection. And when I read this paragraph or section in the book, I thought, this really isn't relevant in today's world. What he's talking about is parents that are inappropriately affectionate with their kids, meaning, kissing them on the mouth and letting them sleep in their bed, which, in today's world, we do have family bed, which is a philosophy of early attachment and bonding, which is, good for a family. And what he's talking about, and again, we have to remember this was back in the late 40s, early 50s, was, inappropriate affection. And in many cases, it could be abusive in some ways. And so a lot of this didn't really seem to apply. However, I think that the pampering aspect of it probably does. And when we talk about putting kids in a position of being, overly pampered, they tend to get helpless and inept, and they can't do things. And so I think that part of the discussion here was, to me seemed really relevant, that children that have too much, I don't like calling it affection or love and adoration, because I think we all should love and adore our kids and respect them and that sort of thing. But when it's done because of some lack in the parents, that's when it becomes a problem. So I think that this idea of excess affection is particularly, people are particularly vulnerable when they get into blended family situations. So we've got, a child, maybe a single mom who's been excessively affectionate with a child because, maybe it's just been the mom and the child for a while.
Look, Bumble knows you're exhausted by dating. All the must not take yourself too seriously and 6'1" since that matters. And what do I even say other than, hey? Well, that's why they're introducing an all-new Bumble, with exciting features to make compatibility easier, starting the chat better, and dating safer. They've changed, so you don't have to. Download the new Bumble now.
And then you get into a family situation where everybody needs to get their boundaries put back together. And now we've got a child who's been used to having mom all to his or herself and suddenly doesn't have that anymore. And so keeping appropriate boundaries with our kids to be able to be loving and affectionate. And because I believe, we talked last week about attachment and bonding, and I believe that touch is so key to kids' development, especially their brain development. And when they don't get touched appropriately or in the right ways or at the right times, their brain can't even develop effectively. And we went through this whole period in the 70s, 80s, maybe a little bit to the 90s, with sexual abuse and sexual predators and that type of thing, that children stopped getting touched. I mean, it used to be in kindergarten, kids could climb in the teacher's lap and she would hold them. And I mean, that's such an important part of that age, to be held, to be loved, to be hugged, to be touched. But because of issues with inappropriate contact, it kind of became a blanket rule where nobody can touch kids anymore. And I think that's such a detriment to our children. And that to make sure that, I love and hug all kids. It's just, if I'm sitting in a classroom helping out with the kids and they want to climb in my lap, they do. And, I'll just have to risk getting in trouble by the authorities for, you're not allowed to touch kids. But I think hugging, kissing, loving, picking up our kids is so important to their development. So when you see boundary crosses, and the few times I've seen this, it might be, say it's a parent who's still nursing a child when they're 5 or 6 or 7 years old. And I have come across that. Or still sleeping in your bed when they get older, and not being able to sleep alone is really an issue. I mean, it's fun to have family bedtime sometimes, but if a child can't sleep alone and they've gotten up to school age, that can be a problem too. So for today, just love and hug and adore and kiss your kids. That's the important thing today. And tomorrow we'll talk about withdrawing affection and how that affects kids in their development. Have a great day. Happy parenting.
Thank you so much for joining me here at the Positive Parenting Pep Talks podcast. I assume you're here because you're getting something out of these daily pep talks. And wouldn't it be great if more parents could hear more about these ideas for their children? And you can help me in a great way by liking the episodes, by sharing them on your social media, and especially by providing a review on your platform of choice. So if you could do me a huge favor and do that, it would really help get this out to many, many, many more parents. And we can all help our children feel more seen, heard, and understood, which is my life's work, is to make sure that all children feel loved and appreciated and that we can discipline them without breaking their spirit. So I hope that you've enjoyed these podcasts and will continue to enjoy them. And I really appreciate any support you can give me here at Positive Parenting Pep Talks. Thank you so much. Have a great day and happy parenting.